You just set fire to the one thing you thought you could control. Me. Those were the last words I said before walking out. Amanda's jaw dropped, the smug grin vanishing like a mask slipping off. I could see the panic building in her eyes. Too late now. Her little game had burned straight through the last thread holding this marriage together. She tried to speak, but nothing came out. Her lips just parted slightly, like she was choking on her own ego. This woman, my wife, had just admitted to cheating. Not crying. Not apologizing. No guilt. She said it like she was recapping brunch with friends. And that line? That one line will haunt me for the rest of my life. It was just one night, Josh. One innocent affair can't possibly ruin our marriage. You're taking this way too seriously. I'll never forget the way she said, innocent. As if she was the victim. As if I was crazy for reacting like a man who had just been stabbed in the back by the one person he trusted most. And I stood there, silent at first, staring at her. Not as a wife. Not even as a stranger. But as a manipulator who thought betrayal was just another Tuesday. You want to know how I got here? 2 days earlier, I found a hotel receipt tucked under the passenger seat of her car while I was grabbing her charger. The Maxwell Hotel. Room 812. A bottle of champagne, 2 glasses. A full night's stay. That wasn't just a receipt, it was a bomb. And I held the fuse. She came home that night like nothing happened. Hugged me. Kissed me. Asked what I wanted for dinner. I stared at her, nodded like everything was fine, but my mind was already assembling the puzzle. The late night, yoga, classes, the sudden phone secrecy, the lingerie I'd never seen her wear, all of it. But I waited. I wanted the truth from her lips. I wanted to see if she'd lie again or double down on her delusions. Last night, she finally confessed, but not how you'd expect. Not with tears. Not with remorse. With laughter. "Come on, babe," she said. "Don't be ridiculous. It was one night. No apology. No regret. Just entitlement." She thought I'd calm down. Thought I'd move on. Amanda actually thought she could convince me it was no big deal. That I should be mature about her sneaking around with another man while I was home planning our anniversary. I wish I could say I lost it. That I screamed. That I smashed something. But I didn't. I gave her the one thing she didn't expect, silence, and a decision. So I looked her straight in the eye and said, "Thanks for the honesty. But let me be just as honest, this marriage? It's over. You don't get to burn the house down and act surprised when you're left standing in the ashes." And then I turned around and walked toward the door. She laughed nervously. "Josh, babe? You're overreacting. You'll remember this silence longer than you'd remember any fight." I walked out and slammed the door behind me. Her voice followed me into the hallway, echoing like a ghost of everything we once were. But I didn't turn around. Not this time. This wasn't just a break in trust. It was war. It's funny how betrayal doesn't slap you in the face all at once. No. It creeps in slow, feeding on tiny details you ignore at first, until suddenly everything makes brutal sense. The first real crack appeared 2 weeks before I ever opened that hotel receipt. Amanda had been acting off. Not dramatically. Just enough to make you second-guess yourself. Less eye contact. More time on her phone. Constant smiles when texting, but none when talking to me. At first, I convinced myself it was stress. Her job, maybe. Or maybe we were just going through a rough patch. Every couple does, right? But then came that night, the night everything shifted. She was standing in the kitchen, dressed in this new, tight black dress I'd never seen before. I asked where she was going. "Wine tasting with Sarah," she said, grabbing her purse. I blinked. "Again? Didn't you just go last weekend?" She paused. Just for a second. Then smiled. "It's a special event. Right then, something twisted in my gut. But I didn't say anything. I watched her leave, heels clicking across the floor like gunshots. And something about the way she didn't say, "I love you," made the silence feel suffocating. Later that night, while she was wine tasting, I scrolled through Instagram, something I rarely do. That's when I saw it. Sarah had posted a story. She was at home, curled up in pajamas, with her boyfriend. A movie playing in the background. I felt my heart rate shift gears. I tried calling Amanda. No answer. Texted, "Everything okay?" No response for over an hour. When she finally came home, at nearly midnight, her lipstick was smeared, and she smelled like perfume layered over guilt. I asked how it was. She smiled. Said it was fine and went straight to the shower. No kiss. No small talk. Just distance. The next morning, I cleaned out her car before heading to work. That's when I saw the envelope. It was crumpled under the passenger seat. Gold embossed logo, the Maxwell Hotel. I opened it, not expecting anything. Probably trash. But there it was, 2 champagne flutes, strawberries, and a $382 charge. That receipt changed everything. I drove to work, but my mind stayed locked on that room number, 812. The receipt didn't lie. She did. And suddenly, every weird moment from the past month came back with razor-sharp clarity: the showering right after coming home, the defensiveness when I asked about her phone, her sudden desire to go out with friends twice a week. Still, I wasn't ready to confront her. I wanted to catch her with her lies fresh on her lips. So I set a little trap. That evening, as we sat on the couch watching TV, I said, "Hey, I found this receipt in your car. From the Maxwell Hotel." "What's that about?" She barely looked up. "Oh, that? Sarah booked a room. I drove her. She was too drunk to drive back." Calm. Confident. Straight to my face. I nodded. Got it. But in that moment, I felt something break. Not a snap. More like a slow, steady collapse of everything I thought was real. She had no idea I'd seen Sarah's story. No idea I already knew. And that made it worse. She was that comfortable lying to me. Like she'd done it 100 times. I couldn't sleep that night. I just stared at the ceiling, playing her words over and over. "You're taking this too seriously. It was just one night." That phrase would stick with me like a scar. But what she didn't realize, what she never counted on, was that she'd created someone new that night. Someone who wouldn't just sit there. Someone who wouldn't beg. She had no idea who she was really dealing with now. I didn't plan the confrontation. It wasn't going to be some dramatic dinner table explosion or a teary argument in bed. No. I wanted it quiet. Direct. No more dancing around the truth. Just her. Me. And the lies between us, laid bare. It happened the next night. She came home late again. Another so-called girls' night. No messages. No check-ins. Just silence until she walked through the door like everything was fine, makeup perfect, dress tight, phone glued to her hand. "Hey," she said, tossing her purse onto the counter. "Hey," I replied calmly, barely looking up from my seat at the dining table. But my heart was thumping like a war drum. She poured herself a glass of wine, humming some tune under her breath. Completely unaware that tonight was the last time she'd hum in this house like nothing was wrong. I waited until she sat down across from me. "You know," I began, "I actually called Sarah today." That was the first spark. Her hand froze halfway to her glass. "What?" "Yeah," I continued, watching her closely. "She didn't know anything about that hotel night you said you spent with her. Said she was with her boyfriend all weekend." Amanda's face tightened for a split second, barely enough to catch. But I caught it. The twitch of the eye. The subtle exhale. Then she smiled. She probably just forgot. She was really drunk. I leaned forward. And the receipt I found in your car? The one with your name on it? The champagne and strawberries? Silence. Now she wasn't smiling. She wasn't even blinking. Her mask had slipped. That wasn't supposed to be in there, she muttered. And there it was. Not denial. Not shock. Just cold, bitter irritation that she got caught. I stared at her. So you're not even going to deny it? She sat back in her chair, crossed her arms, and gave me a look I'll never forget. It was one night, Josh, she said, voice flat. One night. And honestly? You're blowing this way out of proportion. You want to act like I've committed some kind of crime, but maybe if our marriage hadn't gotten so boring, I wouldn't have looked somewhere else. The punch wasn't physical, but it landed harder than any fist ever could. My breath caught in my throat. I could feel heat crawl up my neck. Not from rage, but clarity. This wasn't just a betrayal. This was a woman so far gone she thought her cheating was my fault. You think that justifies it? I said quietly. You think because you were bored, you had a right to lie, sneak around, and crawl into someone else's bed? She rolled her eyes. God, why are you making this dramatic? Men do this all the time and nobody bats an eye. It's not like I fell in love with him. You didn't fall in love, I said. You fell out of respect. That hit something. For the first time, her face shifted. Slight regret. Maybe even fear. But she swallowed it fast. I told you the truth, didn't I? She snapped. Most men would have never gotten that. Oh, so now I should thank you? You could have. But you'd rather play victim and pretend like you're some perfect husband. There it was. The full mask off. The venom. No remorse. No accountability. Just pure arrogance. And that's when I knew, this marriage wasn't cracked. It was demolished. You're right, I said, standing up. Thank you. For what? She sneered. For reminding me exactly who I married. She scoffed as I walked out of the room. But she didn't realize, when I walked out of that room, I also walked out of the illusion I'd been living in. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in my car for hours, parked 2 blocks away, engine off, phone silent, just staring at the dark street ahead like it had answers. My hands were clenched the whole time, not in anger, but restraint. I wasn't even mad anymore, I was hollow. Numb. This wasn't the kind of pain you scream about. This was the kind that seeps under your skin and rewires you. Quiet, permanent. At 4 a.m., I drove to Connor's place, my best friend since high school. I didn't even call. Just knocked. He opened the door, eyes half shut. You good? I didn't say anything. Just walked past him, sat down on his couch, and stared at the floor. After a moment, I handed him the hotel receipt. He looked at it, then at me. Amanda? I nodded. He didn't ask questions. He didn't need to. Connor had always been the guy who read the room before opening his mouth. He went to the kitchen, came back with 2 beers, cracked them both, and sat next to me. She really did it? He asked after a moment. She didn't just do it, I said. She weaponized it. Called it innocent. Told me I was being dramatic. Connor didn't respond. He just took a long drink. You want revenge? He asked finally. No, I said. I want clarity. But clarity came with a cost. The next day, Amanda texted me 5 times before noon. Amanda, can we talk? Amanda, you're being immature now. Amanda, are you seriously ghosting me like a teenager? Amanda, fine. Stay gone. Maybe he was right about you. Amanda, ignore that last text. Can we meet? She didn't know what version of me she'd created that night. I took the day off work and drove to my lawyer's office. I didn't want to argue. I didn't want counseling. I wanted options. Facts. Numbers. File for divorce, I said the second I sat down. The lawyer, Melissa, looked up. Sure. Any grounds? Infidelity. With evidence. I showed her the receipt, the texts, the timeline. She nodded, calm and efficient. By noon, the wheels were in motion. By evening, Amanda had a delivery on her front porch, an envelope with divorce papers and a typed note that read, "You can keep the lies. I'm reclaiming my peace. No shouting. No scenes. Just surgical, deliberate detachment." She called me that night. I let it ring. Then she showed up at Connor's. "I just want to talk," she pleaded at the door, voice fake soft. "We don't have to end things like this." Connor stood between us. Arms crossed. "He's not here." "I know he's here," she said, trying to peek past him. He leaned in closer. "Doesn't matter. He doesn't want to see you. You're going to let him throw away our whole marriage over one mistake?" she hissed. Connor didn't flinch. "You didn't just cheat, Amanda. You made him feel like it was his fault. That's not a mistake. That's abuse." She tried to slap him, believe it or not. That's the kind of person she really was underneath it all. But he caught her wrist mid-air and pushed it gently aside. "Leave." She did. Not because she accepted it, but because, for once, she realized she wasn't in control. And that night, I finally slept. For the first time in weeks, no anxiety. No guessing. No pretending. Just silence. Amanda had lit the match thinking I'd stay in the flames with her. But I walked out, untouched. You'd think the worst part of betrayal is the moment you find out. It's not. It's the days after, the quiet ones, where you wake up expecting the world you used to live in, only to realize you've been dropped into something colder, emptier, realer. The old version of me would have spent those mornings wondering what I did wrong. Questioning myself. Asking if I worked too much, didn't compliment her enough, wasn't exciting anymore. But the man Amanda turned me into? He didn't ask those kinds of questions anymore. I wasn't angry. I was wide awake. The morning after she tried to barge into Connor's place, I moved into a short-term rental downtown. A small one-bedroom with just enough furniture and no memories clinging to the walls. Every corner of it felt clean, like a reset. I sat down, opened my laptop, and wrote a list. Not of what I lost. But of everything I gave, and everything she took for granted. I worked extra shifts when her mother was sick. I put off vacations to pay off her credit card debt. I supported her when she wanted to quit her job to find herself. I planned our anniversary solo, twice in a row. I sat in silence through her mood swings, thinking love meant patience. And she repaid it with a hotel room and a smirk. That list turned into something more. A strategy. A blueprint. Not for revenge, but for recovery. That week, I hit the gym every single morning. Not to get revenge hot, like people say, but to bleed out the restlessness. I started eating better, sleeping better, talking to people I hadn't reached out to in years. The version of me that existed only to keep Amanda happy, was dead. And then something unexpected happened. She started crumbling. The texts came first. "Amanda, I miss you. Amanda, I made a mistake. Amanda, please, we can talk. Amanda, can't we just erase this and start fresh?" Then came the photos. Her alone. Crying. Wearing my old sweatshirt. The same one she used to tell me to throw away because it was ugly. Then came the jealousy. "Amanda, so you're out now? Posting gym selfies? Is that for her?" I hadn't posted anything. Connor had. A photo of us at the gym. I wasn't even looking at the camera. But it was enough to shatter her little fantasy that I'd just sit around waiting. That night, she called again. I answered this time. Josh, she started, voice trembling. I don't want to lose you. You already did. Listen, I didn't know what I wanted. I was confused. It wasn't even that good, I swear. Spare me the details. I miss us. There is no us, Amanda. Just you. And the man you thought I'd stay as forever. She got quiet. Is there someone else now? She asked. You really want to talk about that? I said. You didn't even wait until I was cold. Her breath hitched. Then, just like I expected, the switch flipped. Sympathy vanished. The coldness returned. You're a coward, Josh. You think walking away makes you strong? You're weak. Real men fight for their marriage. No, I said. Real men don't stick around after someone spits on it. Click. I didn't let her speak again. That call wasn't closure. It was confirmation. She didn't want me back. She wanted her control back. Her fallback plan. Her safety net. But I was done being her plan B. This was the turning point, not in the story. In me. I didn't just leave Amanda. I left the version of myself who let her get away with everything for so long. Revenge doesn't always come with fire and fury. Sometimes, it's the calm that unnerves them. The silence after they scream. The strength you gain when they expect you to fall apart, and you don't. That's the revenge Amanda never saw coming. She thought I'd break. She thought I'd spiral, beg, crawl back. But what she didn't understand is that when you burn a man down to nothing, he doesn't come back weaker. He comes back focused. I wasn't stalking her social media. I wasn't asking about her. I was building. Quietly. Strategically. While she was throwing emotional darts, I was securing the win. I closed our joint accounts. Changed every password. Had my name removed from all her recurring bills and unsubscribed from every reminder of her life. Then I sent her one final text. You'll get the rest of your things in a box. No note. No goodbye. Just what you earned. And that box? Oh, it was a masterpiece. I sent it to her office. Packed inside were the lace underwear I found that wasn't mine. A printed screenshot of her hotel receipt. A photo of us from our anniversary, paperclipped to a printout of her texts with him that I'd pulled from her iCloud backup. At the bottom of the box, a handwritten note on thick black cardstock. You said one night couldn't ruin our marriage. Turns out one night was enough to ruin you. She didn't respond. For 2 whole days. Nothing. Then, a call from a blocked number. I answered, just in case. It was her. You're sick, she snapped. Sending that to my job? I gave you exactly what you gave me. Embarrassment. Confusion. Consequences. You're acting like a child. No, Amanda. For once, I'm just not acting like a doormat. She paused, and then the tears started. At least, her version of tears. I miss us, Josh. I'm sorry, okay? You don't have to keep punishing me. I could almost hear the trembling lips, but I didn't flinch. You thought it was innocent, remember? One night. Nothing to ruin everything over. I didn't mean that, she whispered. No. You meant every word. You meant it when you lied. When you smiled in my face. When you told me I was overreacting. I never stopped loving you. You stopped respecting me. And that's worse. She went silent again. And I ended the call. This wasn't about getting even anymore. This was about making sure she'd never forget that I didn't stay broken. But the final blow? That came 2 weeks later. A mutual friend, Melissa, called me. Said Amanda had been crying in the bathroom at a birthday dinner. She keeps saying she lost the one man who really loved her, she said. I just nodded. She asked me if I thought you'd ever forgive her, Melissa added. And what did you say? I told her no. I told her the man you used to be might have, but not the man she created. And that was it. That's when I knew the revenge was complete. Amanda didn't just lose me. She lost the version of me that ever cared enough to stay. She lit a match thinking I'd chase her through the fire. Instead, I became the one who built something better from the ashes. And all she has now is smoke. People think healing is loud, like it comes with dramatic declarations, public closure, and triumphant Instagram posts. But they're wrong. Healing is quiet. It's waking up one morning and realizing you didn't think about them at all the night before. That their name didn't ruin your mood, that their memory didn't claw its way into your chest. That's the rebuild. And that's where I was. The days were lighter. The silence in my apartment was no longer haunting, it was peace. I stopped checking her socials. Not because it hurt, but because I genuinely didn't care. Her life had become background noise in mine, like a distant radio station barely coming through. I had started running. Not for a goal. Not for fitness. Just to feel my lungs stretch and remind myself I was alive. There was something freeing about feeling the pavement hit back with every step, solid, certain, unlike anything I'd felt with her. I started seeing friends again. Real ones. The kind of people Amanda never liked because they didn't fit our vibe. Turns out, they were the ones who always had my back. We laughed harder. Drank longer. And for the first time in years, I stopped editing myself to please someone else. Then, something wild happened. I started smiling again, for no reason. One afternoon, I was at a small coffee shop reading a book when a woman sat across from me. I looked up, surprised. She smiled. Blonde, but in a way completely opposite of Amanda, soft eyes, grounded energy, no drama bleeding from her posture. "Sorry," she said, "place is packed. Mind if I share the table?" I nodded. "Be my guest." Her name was Rachel. She was a graphic designer. Divorced. She didn't ask about my past, and I didn't offer it. We talked about books, bad coffee, and her dog who hates mailmen. It felt easy. Unforced. Clean. We didn't start dating right away. Hell, I wasn't even thinking about dating. But we exchanged numbers. And when she texted later that night just to say, "Hey, it was really nice talking to you," I felt something I hadn't in months. A pulse. Amanda, in the meantime, was spiraling. Mutual friends kept telling me stories, how she went from guy to guy trying to recreate what she lost. How she cried at parties. How she told anyone who would listen that I overreacted. Classic Amanda, still spinning her version of the truth while drowning in the one she created. But none of it touched me anymore. She was the past. I was building something new. I'd found a therapist, too. Just to make sure I wasn't dragging emotional residue into anything that came next. And during one session, my therapist asked, "What do you want now?" I sat back and smiled. Peace. Consistency. And someone who doesn't think betrayal is casual. He nodded. "You're already there." Maybe I was. Not every scar has to stay raw. Some just fade and remind you of what you survived. I hadn't just survived Amanda. I'd evolved because of her. She taught me the cost of blind loyalty, the danger of silence, and the power of walking away before you're completely empty. And for that lesson, I owed her nothing. No thanks. No final message. Just distance. The funny thing is, she thought she was the storm. But I was the one who left her standing in the rain, holding an umbrella full of holes. I used to think closure came from some deep, emotional conversation. The final sit-down. The tears. The apologies. But now? I know better. Closure doesn't come from them. It comes from you, the moment you stop needing answers you already know. It had been months since Amanda. Since the lies. The betrayal. The night she called her affair just one innocent night, and looked me in the eye like I was the problem. Back then, I felt like a man underwater, grasping for air, for meaning, for something to hold on to. But now, I was standing on dry land. Clean. Solid. New. She reached out one more time last week. A long message. Rambling about what we had, how she still dreams about me, how no one has made her feel the way I did. She said she still loved me. Said I was too cold, like that was some sort of betrayal. I didn't respond. Because here's the truth she never understood: love without respect isn't love. It's manipulation. And I was done being the fool who called poison a potion. I stood at the edge of a new life now, and when I looked back, I didn't see Amanda. I saw me, the man I used to be. A version so desperate to keep things together, he ignored every sign they were already broken. That guy? He was loyal. Honest. Maybe a little too forgiving. But he also learned. He learned that silence is a form of strength. That walking away isn't weakness, it's the ultimate flex. He learned to set boundaries so firm that even the past can't cross them. If I could go back in time, I wouldn't try to stop Amanda from cheating. I wouldn't beg her to reconsider. I wouldn't rewrite any of it. Because her betrayal was the spark. The fire she started thinking it would burn me down, it lit the path I needed to take to find myself again. And yeah, it hurt. Watching someone you gave your soul to act like your love was disposable, it leaves a hole. But that hole? You fill it. With better habits. Better people. Better boundaries. With truth, and grit, and unshakable clarity. People always say, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I say, what breaks you open gives you a chance to rebuild something indestructible. To the men reading this who've been there, who've heard the words, "It was just one night," who've been made to feel like they're the problem for not accepting betrayal, let me say this. You're not weak for hurting. You're not soft for wanting answers. But you're a fool if you let someone treat you like a placeholder and still beg to be picked. Walk away. Even if your legs shake. Take the first step into the unknown, because what's waiting on the other side is not loneliness, it's freedom. And one day, like me, you'll wake up, look in the mirror, and barely recognize the man staring back, not because you lost yourself, but because you found who you were always meant to be. Amanda's greatest mistake wasn't cheating. It was thinking I'd stay. She played a game of betrayal and thought she held all the cards. But I was the ace she didn't count on, the one who folded the deck and walked off the table. She wanted fun. I gave her final.